Hey, it's Jeff from What War Leaves Behind. Wanted to jump on here real quick and do this little intro episode for the upcoming podcast. Basically, just kind of explaining what War Leave Behind really is and the reasoning behind it, why I created it, all that nonsense. Right. First off, Jeff Sabins here, retired Marine Corps Gunnery Sergeant. Um, did multiple deployments to Iraq, Afghanistan, Somalia. Was the did a chief instructor at base MTU, teaching marksmanship. Instructor over at SOI, combat instructor school. Did a stint at MAR4Com. Um, just typical infantry Marine Corps career. Got out of the Marine Corps when I retired in 21. Went and worked for about 6 months as a chief production officer until I left that company. It just wasn't for me. And then started teaching, just teaching at the public school system, business and math. And then always loved writing, right? So I've published a few books throughout the last, I don't know, what has it been, 7 years or so. And wanted to basically transition everything I was doing with writing, my thoughts, social media, all to this one publication. So I don't have any more social media, no more LinkedIn, none of that stuff. Everything I do, everything I write is through here, What War Leaves Behind. Um, so I've been doing about a week now, got 99 subscribers, got some followers on Substack, and great conversations, and just loving the way this feels right now. So, um, yeah, this is What War Leaves Behind as the written portion. Additionally, with the podcast kind of integration with this software, I want to do weekly videos as well as talking through the stuff that I write about. So the way the schedule will be Monday. Mondays will be these episodes. I'll record an episode and kind of talk through the previous week of what I wrote about. Um, the the publication is a 3 content pillar. So I do combat memoir, lessons learned, not a book review, but reading these books from these veterans and kind of just finding the hidden gems, finding the lessons that help us lead a better life, help us survive obstacles, help us overcome and build resilience. Is anything we can get out of these books. Um, the other one is field notes. So from my Marine Corps career, from teaching, from my time as a chief production officer, from the time, there was a little 18-month window there where I launched a business and was coaching executives throughout the United States until I sold that company in 22. So kind of talking through that maybe a little bit. And then the third content pillar is my son Carter, who 15 years ago when he was 2, found a brain tumor, had a couple surgeries as a VP shunt. At 5 years old, he was diagnosed with autism, and just working through the system while being in the Marine Corps and then the system after the Marine Corps. So just as recently as last week, he had his 4th brain surgery, he had to do a revision for the shunt. And it was our first time while not being active duty and working through that process, right? So just all the following his journey, helping future parents kind of work through that. From our experience and our eyes, what we've seen with that, and just following his journey throughout. So Mondays, we'll jump on here and we'll talk through the previous week. Tuesdays is when I published the combat memoirs. So last week, or at this point it was 2 weeks ago because Carter had surgery last week. 2 weeks ago I published about Outlaw Platoon and just kind of finding some of the leadership principles and just the things that stood out to me when I read that book. Right now I'm reading House to House, and next week I'll post that. And so Tuesdays is my plan to jot down and write and post those combat memoirs. Wednesdays I send out the SIP rep because I don't send out emails for everything I publish. There's just one email every single week with just the recap. So Wednesdays are my SIT reps. So SIT rep 001 went out last week. SITREP 002 will go out in a couple days. Thursdays will be field notes. So if I have any field notes that I want to publish through that, that'll go on Thursdays. And then Friday is Carter and carrying forward, right? So that is the window. Monday, record an episode. Tuesday, book. Wednesday, send out my SITREP email. Thursday, field notes. Friday, Carter and carrying forward. All right. So would love for you all to come over, subscribe, get those weekly emails, kind of stay in touch. Love to hear your thoughts, recommend books, recommend your lessons learned, just anything that you want to talk about and you want to share. Let's have that conversation. Let's get it in here. And yeah, I mean, that's about where we're at right now. There's no paywall on the articles. People aren't paying to read articles, none of that stuff. It's all just, let's get this knowledge out there. You know, it's always been this thing of what do we read from the past? What notes do we take? How do we learn from those before us to make our journey just a little bit easier, a little bit more informed, and not repeating that circle that we see in every type of organization, every type of lives we live. There's always someone saying, you know, hey, it's just that circle. It keeps repeating and repeating and repeating. Well, let's try to get something out of that, right? So again, you know, you can check out my website, jeffsavins.substack.com. Go give me a subscribe, follow on the journey. Look forward to hearing from you. Appreciate you.